Feel free, Sam. Fuck, is it 8? I don't even know. So far, this past week, it hasn't even been a week yet, I have spent $2,000 on my car. Hey Dylan, how's it going? We've lost one toilet of the two, and the bathtub and shower are both useless. And let's see, what else? Oh, my printer will not work unless you unplug it, hold the button down for 2 minutes, plug it back in, then maybe it'll spit out a page if you're lucky. As I've already indicated, my firmware, which I can't really say without giggling a little bit because I'm 12, decided to update now, which also always happens, inevitably happens when I'm at Starbucks or some other place getting ready to write. My computer will inevitably say, you know what would be a great thing to do right now? Update. Oh, and it's gonna be one of those long motherfuckers too. It's gonna be a good hour. Don't go anywhere and don't turn off your computer, right? Thank you, Mary. I saw that briefly. So it's been that week, and I have just about motherfucking had it, and it's gonna be one of those nights. So I'll try not to be too fucking negative, but let's not hold our breath today. It's really, yeah, I didn't break anything today, which was good. That was a step. But holy fucking shit, I have just had it, and I've had it in such a first world white male kind of way, right? Am I right? Turn off auto updates. Thank you, Tim. I will do that. In the future, I will do it. Just like in the future, I will try to remind myself that before I go out with my laptop or anything uh, like that, I will plug it in and turn it on and make sure all that update shit has happened before I leave the house. Sometimes I remember, and most of the time I don't. This week has just felt like a complete fucking failure. Fortunately, not fortunately, that's a terrible word to use. As it turns out, I'm not the only person, the only author who's having that kind of week. So yay, I guess. I don't know, but so I thought I would share. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, you're right, Mary. Time machine for this crap would be fantastic. So again, I apologize if I miss. Um, how do I kill a shower in a bathtub? I'll tell you how I kill it, Richard. Apparently by turning the water on. I am so gifted and talented that apparently all it requires is me to turn on the water, and that's enough to destroy the plumbing in this house. So, thank you. I hope this week turns up too. I'm sure it probably will. I do have what I think is a good story. I'm going to try to open with that, with knives, um, that I normally don't, because you guys know by this point that I am not um, particularly good at sharing um, success stories of my own. I'm happy to share yours. That's not a problem, but I don't typically um, share my own. But this one was, I felt kind of important, and for some reason gave me the idea to do this tonight's topic. So before we do that, thank you for joining us. I appreciate all of you who are here very, very much. If you haven't yet, please subscribe, because subscriptions on YouTube are, that's kind of like the currency of YouTube. That's what I really need, is subscriptions and likes and shares and all that kind of stuff, specifically on YouTube. So if you haven't done that, please do that if you're watching at home. Remember, you need a Gmail account. You sign into YouTube, click up at the upper right, I believe it is, and create a channel. If you haven't yet, that's what will allow you to subscribe and to join the chat. Doesn't mean you have to post a video. It doesn't cost you anything. And let's be honest, any information Google wants from you, they probably already have, so don't let that make you afraid. Because I'm pretty sure I've got some viewers who are just viewing or listening, but who are not subscribing, and shame on you. You need to subscribe and support me in my old age. I don't know what that means. I was at an event, a very good event, this past weekend. And as some of you know, I'm an author. And um, maybe some of you have heard me talk about one student in particular. And the reason I think you may have heard me tell this story is because I've been telling her story for like 8 years now, typically at writing classes and especially at high schools. Um, me getting hired my current job. Yay! I'm good. Congratulations, Andy. That's good. I assume that is a good thing. I hope that is a good thing. And if so, congratulations. That's good. I can be happy for other people. That's I have no problem with that. Uh, so I've been telling this first part of this particular girl's story for about 8 years now, and some of you have probably even encountered her name in one of my novels. I'm not going to say which, and I'm not going to say what her name is, just because it doesn't seem quite right to do it based on what I'm going to tell you next. Um, but just know that if you've read, most of you have probably, at this point, encountered this girl in one of my novels. And this girl, this is maybe the first or second high school I ever went to. Um, she was, and she was the shape of things to come. It turns out. When I did my presentation, this was for party. I did my presentation. It was like I said, first or second time I'd ever done a school visit, and I said, "Does anybody have any questions?" I'm totally nervous. I have no idea what I'm doing in there. One girl has already like marched in and flipped out and slammed her stuff down and like is sitting in the back of the room just crying. I'm like, I don't know what to do. But then this one girl raises her hand and says, "When did you know you wanted to be a writer? And what did your family think?" And as soon as she said that, like, I almost started to answer before she even finished the question. When did I know I wanted to be a writer? Second grade, and I can tell my whole, second grade story that I think all of you have heard a dozen times by now. But that second part of the question, what did your family think? Like, as soon as she said it, like, it just hit me like she doesn't fundamentally care what my family thought. She wants to know what to tell the people in her life, right? Um, and she stumped me for a second because I could read behind the question, and this being my first or second visit, I didn't quite know how to answer it. I don't remember how I answered it. I probably just told her, about some stuff about my parents and kind of left it at that. But I hope what I did, and I think what I did, was that I told her, whatever whatever you want to do, whether it's writing or whatever, you need to do that, and don't let anybody tell you that you can't, or that you shouldn't, or whatever. You should at least try. If it's whatever this thing is that makes you get up in the morning, man, you got to do that. You've got to try to do that, right, Mary? Um, so anyway, so that happened 8 some years ago. I was I don't know if I'm gonna get through this. I was at this event this weekend, and it was a really good event. I got to see a lot of my author friends, and we got to hang out, and all I was required to do was I had one keynote that I did on the opening night that went very well. I had to change it like an hour before I went up because I saw where we were gonna be, and like, oh, this is not the layout that I'm used to, and oh my gosh, yeah, so I'm madly texting Joy like, oh my god, I have to change my keynote. Help me. What do I do? And of course, as always, she came through and gave me some ideas that helped me put some links together and in my head, and I was finally able to pull it together. And then I kind of went out there and sort of winged it to a certain degree. Although I never really wing it. I just never get in those positions if I can avoid it. But it went really well. It went very well. Thank you, Mary and Sam, too. I saw you guys. Thank you very much. So it was a good event, very successful event. Sold some books. That was great. Got to talk to a lot of cool people, including my author friends. The morning I was getting ready to leave, and I didn't feel really well this particular morning. I don't know why, but just I didn't get a lot of sleep. I'm out of town, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I get to sleep in. I won't have the kids. This will be great. Nope, doesn't matter. My internal clock was like, ooh, wake up at 2 and wake up at 5, just like at home. So that's what I did. Um, hey, Harmony, I'm just glad you're here. Thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Everybody say hi to Harmony. So I'm not feeling good on this particular morning. I was like, you know what? I need to get home. I just need to get home and relax. But just before I'm gonna go, I run into uh, one of the teachers who was at that school and was one of that girl's teachers back then. And she's like, I don't know if you remember such and such. And I was like, of course I do. Yeah, I totally remember this person because I tell her story all the time. That's one of my like staple stories that I tell my writing classes and stuff like that. And she said, well, there's a few things I want you to know. I'm like, oh my God, here we go. um, Two-part story. Bad part first, followed by good part. She said, yeah, this student, um, senior year, was date raped. I was like, okay, fuck. What do you do with that, right? Like my heart just sank. Like fucking. I mean, what do you say? Well, that's bullshit. I mean, because it is. So I said something like that. Like I'm so sorry. That is awful. And then this instructor said, yeah. So that's the bad news. The good news is she's a survivor, and she got through that. She she survived it, and she moved on. She just kept cruising ahead, and she got a full ride scholarship to this school, to college, and was able to carry on with her life that way. Full ride scholarship, academic scholarship, I believe. And I was like, okay, that's a good way to end that story, right? And I asked this teacher, like, does she know that I kind of talk about her? Does she know, or like, does she remember me? Does she remember the? And she's like, oh yeah, no, she did. She did for sure, because we talked about it. I was like, okay. Now, you know, um, far be it for me to take credit uh, for something good happening, because that's not how I roll. But I like to think that this girl who I said, hey, what does your family think? Fuck your family. You go do your thing, man. Just do your thing. Go do it. I like to think that that was, I don't want to say instrumental, but a part of her being able to get through something that horrible and cruise on ahead and go do what she wanted to do. I mean, she's probably graduated by now, you know? And I just hope that wherever she is, that she's okay, of course, that all of us are. And that's, I mean, humbling is one word. It's not the only word. It's also like, well, don't I feel like the fucking asshole, right? How dare I ever complain about anything, particularly as it's related to this career, uh, when I've got that. And the truth is, I know it's not the only time something like that has happened. I have letters and emails and conversations that I've had with people that I know the books have mattered. Um, and how the fuck dare I be upset about anything that doesn't go exactly the way I want it to go when it comes to this career? It's uh, so humbling isn't the right word. It is a correct word, but it's not the one I'm trying to come up with. Anyhow, yeah. Anyway, hashtag masculinity. I don't know how I'm going to connect those two things. Maybe I'm not. Maybe that was the cold open. um, yes, it is. It does get you right in the soul. That is a good way to put it. I mean, I must have like the it was difficult. The drive home from the event was very difficult because I'm just like trying not to openly weep the entire way, only because it's unsafe. Like I don't want to be driving down the mountain like fuck I can't see, because that's basically what I was doing. Um, I just could not get that story out of my head. That I mean, it was like a fucking hammer blow right here, in the best possible way. Anyway, um, so again, I don't know how we're going to tie that to masculinity, but it's something that I kind of wanted to get into. I think um, that's not quite the. I don't want to talk about that right now. I guess the sort of roundabout way that I came to the topic was thinking about whoever it was that did that to her. Who was this boy? Who was this young man, presumably, who did this to her? No one's going to disagree that this is terrible. No one's going to disagree that it's a crime, certainly. No one's going to disagree that it's awful and horrific and there should be justice and punishment. And I'm willing to bet you, not knowing the whole story, but I'm willing to bet you there wasn't, just statistically speaking. Sheer numbers, there probably was no justice done here in this case. I hope I'm wrong, but we all know from our own personal experiences, if nothing else, that justice is rarely served in these cases. It seems like. But then I guess maybe I started thinking of it from sort of a storytelling perspective, as I often do, and trying to figure out, you know what, the this story about this student didn't start with this horrible thing that happened. This horrible thing that happened. Um, oh no, Mary, no, you're right. Won't think it was all that bad and that it was illegal. No, you're right. You're right. There are people who think that. You're absolutely right. There are people who think that, and that's what I want to talk about. The story of whatever happened that day, that night, to her, didn't start that day. It started 15 years ago, 17 years ago, 18 years ago. It started with whoever the fuck wasn't responsible for raising this kid up. Am I wrong? I mean, if I am, let me know. But like, there's, and not to say, I generally tend to disagree with motions or movements or laws or whatever that hold parents responsible for things that their children do. I tend to shy away from that. Just sort of fundamentally, I can't articulate why necessarily. I just tend to at the moment. That may change by the end of the night. Um, but maybe this kid, whoever he was, and I don't know anything about him. Maybe he had every possible advantage. Maybe he had great parents, who tried to raise him up right and would be absolutely appalled and shocked that their beautiful little boy, who I would like to think that's how they saw him, hopefully with any luck, uh, could make such a terrible thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, we just don't know. We just don't know. It's hard for me to imagine that scenario. It's hard to imagine that this kid, this boy, had loving, supportive, positive parenting happening. I like it's a weird word to use, but I like to think that's not the case. Like I want to believe that something awful happened or was happening consistently or neglectful throughout his life to ultimately lead him to a day like that. Does that make sense? Um, yeah, and that's the thing. That's why I'm trying to tread as cautiously as I can here while I unpack this for myself, because yeah, there um, we know there are just broken, fucked up people. Like there, there just are, who have every possible thing going for them, and yet there's still something wrong. That's absolutely true. That's absolutely true. Um, but I still feel like, again, just playing odds that I'm just making up off the top of my head, that shouldn't there was there not somebody in his life teaching him that this is not how we do things, that this is inappropriate? I mean, inappropriate, of course, is a laughable term. Inappropriate doesn't do justice. But you know what I mean? Like, there are things you don't do, son, and by God, that's one of them, ever. Um, the thing is, I'm looking at my upbringing and the upbringing of my friends, and I don't want to speak for them, but like, no one ever told me there were things I shouldn't do, which is not an excuse if I do something stupid. Not an excuse. I don't buy that. But where was that influence? Where was the influence of like, hey man, here's, I mean, not to put too fine a point on it, here's how you treat a lady. And ladies, I'm sorry if you don't like being called that. Sorry, I'm being masculine tonight, I guess. Um, but you know what I mean? Like, all we have is what we see happening. And you know, and in fairness, certainly there were things wrong in my house for sure. One of them wasn't how my father treated my mother. There was never anything in terms of their relationship that I ever saw that was particularly negative or had a, you know, that would make me think, oh, I can do whatever I want with women or whatever. Like, so to their credit, I never saw anything like that. I never had, uh, I never knew people growing up who had that attitude, who were dismissive of women, or anything like that. So, yay, I guess. But still, where was the active involvement? Where was the training? You know, where was um, what's the fucking, like when you, not coming of age, but you know, where the tribe just kind of comes around and you have like a ceremony, that kind of thing. I can't remember what it's called now. Joy will know here any second now. That initiation, you know, like this is manhood and this is what is expected. Now, today, meaning this particular year, this particular place, this particular time, masculinity has been, and it's been going on for many, many, many years now, but it's really starting to boil up, which is good. There's been a lot of discussions. I mean, fucking companies are doing it. Now, that's a whole other topic that I don't necessarily want to get into. Um, but at least it is. I'm sorry, Mary. Um, but at least it is being talked about. What occurred to me as I was driving home thinking about this girl and then my reaction to it, and then um, my own kids is, you know, my son is 7 and was born into a time and place where we are, not all of us, but large parts of the nation, many, many of us are starting to look at what does masculinity mean? What does femininity mean? What does feminism mean? What do you know? What do all these? What is Me Too? What is that all about? And how do we deal with all these things? And he has, in my opinion, the luxury of being born into a time and place where that's actually a conversation that's happening. I don't blame you, Mary. It's okay. Um, you know what I mean? So he has that advantage. It's everywhere. Like it's being talked about in the public sphere, not just privately, which I think is good. Um, so hopefully and presumably, my wife and I will do our job, what I would consider our job, um, and raise him and Sarah both in such a way that they are never going to be in that position. You know what I mean? Like that when the time comes, as it inevitably, rite of passage. Thank you, Joy, and Andy. When the time comes that Toby figures out, oh hey, there's such a thing as girls or boys, whichever, I don't give a shit. Uh, cool. Here's how we're gonna do this, bud. There are ways to approach relationships. I don't care, you know, that you need to do and that you need to take responsibility for, so that you are never in a place where someone gets hurt because of something you did. Now, there's emotional hurt. That shit's just gonna happen. Let's take that off the table for a minute. If you're a human being, you're gonna get fucking hurt. If you have a relationship with other human beings, someone's gonna break your fucking heart. Accept it. Move on. That's not what we're talking about. Okay, that's you can't avoid that shit. Um, yes, your default. Thank you, Sam. Your default should be a form of kindness. Absolutely. I think that's a fantastic way to do it. So, but like that feels new. It's not new. That idea is not new to this country or this civilization, and yet it feels new. It feels like a brand. Like, oh, we should be kind to each other. Holy shit! What? That's interesting. Wow. You know what I mean? Like, and honestly, I think the vast majority of us are, for the most part, um, or at the very least, we do no harm. Even if we're not kind, we're at least not out to do harm. Um, but what does that mean? What does that look like in practice? What do I tell, and not even tell, but show and teach my kids about this? Now, for example, and I think I've told this story before, but I remember right out of high school, there was a girl I was very interested in dating, and we went out once or twice, but that was it. And one of the reasons we went out only once or twice was we went out for coffee or something, and I grabbed at the coffee shop, I grabbed the door to open it, and she fucking like both hands like grabbed the door away from me and said, "I got it, I got it, I got it," and I was like, "Fuck, okay." And like in that moment, I was like, this is not gonna work. Like I like to think I'm a feminist, but holy shit. I was just opening the fucking door. I mean, she was pissed that I was opening the door for her. I'm like, we are not gonna connect in any way, shape, or form. Now, I certainly think, and I think this is more widespread now, but like people just open doors for each other, and gender and sex has nothing to do with it. Like if you're there and I'm there, we just open doors for each other. Cool. And if a dude opens a door for me, I'm gonna go through and say thank you very much. And if a woman opens a door for me, I'm gonna say thank you very much, appreciate it, and go on in. Uh, Typically in that, regardless of that situation, if someone opens a door for me like at Starbucks or something, my default usually is to then step aside and let them go first in line if they want. That way it's this whole quid pro quo thing. But in any case, I'm gonna go through the door. It's not like if a woman holds a door for me, I'm gonna be like, no, 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 lady. I do this because I'm manly. Like, shut the fuck up, dude. If your masculinity is threatened because a woman opens the door for you, you've got bigger issues, right? Am I right? Am I crazy? I don't know. That's just what it feels like. Okay. At the same time, can I just open the door for you? Like, does that have to be? Can we just, like Sam was saying, can we just call that kindness and let it go at that? Isn't that okay? And I get confused. It's a very confusing world out there for people like me who think about this kind of stuff, and I probably think about it too much. Um, but like we were just talking about my daughter and how much there's several things that she seems to love right now, and it's hard to tell when they're this age if it's just being that age or if it's actually like you can already see up the personality and kind of uh, the things that they like kind of going in a certain direction. She loves dancing. And she's also very tactile, and she's a we talked about this I think on the show. She's a bruiser, man. She doesn't fucking care. She'll just charge into shit, and she's gotten more bruises already than I think Toby's ever had. Toby's a very active kid. Don't make please don't misunderstand me. He's a very active kid, but he's more like me, and like I was active, but I was cautious in my activity. Like I didn't do anything super dangerous. There was a couple dumb things I did, but generally I tended to kind of keep an eye out on things and didn't go totally nuts. I kind of wish I had more in retrospect, but in any case, my daughter on the other hand is like, "Fuck it, let's go," and she just fucking barrels into shit. And I sincerely do hope that this is not a toddler thing. I hope this is something that we're gonna see throughout her life. I would love for her to be that kid. I don't care if she's a boy or a girl. Like, go get it. Go fucking yes, charge in, tear it up. And then trying to come to terms with that as a parent of like, oh God, you're gonna get so fucking hurt Good. Go do it. I don't want to hold you back. Buffy tells Dawn, I don't want to protect you from the world. I want to show it to you. You know, I really appreciate that outlook, and I feel the same about my son. Like I want to show you stuff. I have a list, literally on one of my boards of just stuff that I want to show him, and then there's a whole other list of stuff that I can't because I don't know how to do it. So it's like let's go figure this out together, woohoo, and see what happens. Um, so I don't know what the current definition of masculinity is. I don't know what it's supposed to be, even. I don't think there is fundamentally anything wrong with owning guns or a big truck or going hunting or, I mean, 4 by 4 whatever these traditionally masculine things are. Cool, great, whatever. And I could give a shit if any woman wants to do that. In fact, I would personally think that's pretty hot. As a matter of fact, like, well, all right, 4 by 4. You know what I'm saying? Um, but this is also coming from the guy who has never understood the chick in the bikini with a AK-47 polishing a Ferrari on a magazine cover. Like, I've never got that. It just, for whatever reason, never computed for me. It's like, you put some clothes on. I don't know what it is about me. That just never did anything for me. So does that mean I'm not masculine? Like, if that's not my dream girl, like, does that make me not masculine? I don't think so. I don't think it has anything to do with it. I think, and just knowing my audience, I think probably most of us would agree with what Sam mentioned earlier, which is kindness. Dude, being kind is fucking, that's tough, man. That's like tough guy shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, it takes a very masculine, tough person, masculine in sort of a traditional sense, to, um, Sam, I hate you. And that's from the heart. I'm so glad you're here. Um, what was I traditional? I can't remember. See, I read Sam's thing. Um, to be a man. Yeah, yeah. Thank you, Steve. I'm glad you're here, Steve. I didn't see you earlier. Um, and it is one of the many reasons Joy and I work. It really is. It really is. Because for me, like there are people, and I probably know some of them, not my close friends, but I know of people in my outer rings, who, like, if they knew that I did most of the grocery shopping and that I helped with the laundry and the dishes, not as much as I could, but I still do it, would be like, you know, like, dude, shut up, wash a fucking dish, okay, wash your kids' clothes and fold that shit. That's masculine. Taking care of your family, right? And at the same time, and I do have friends in this position, like currently, without Joy's job, we'd be fucking dead in the water. Currently, right now, as we speak. And you want to hear about the toilets again? Yeah. So thank God Joy has a good job and she is able to pay bills while I'm like, I write books or whatever. Great. And never have I felt that that was a threat to my masculinity. Like, I don't fucking care. This 20x thing that I'm training for. I'm so excited. I'm not going to tell you because I don't want to upset people. Um, but anyway, I'm doing all this work. I'm sucking at it as a matter of fact, but I'm still doing it. And I've put on good weight, healthy weight, and I'm probably in the best physical shape of my life, and I'm feeling like, dude, I feel like manly, and that's cool. Like, all right, I'm feeling manly, and that's great. But that's for me. That's for me and my brain and my crazy fucked upness inside my head, which is all about I need to feel as though I can protect my family if necessary. I'm not gonna go pick in any fights. I don't want to get in a gun battle. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want any of this fucking shit to happen. Trust me, I really don't. But I do want to feel competent, and I know we've talked about that on the show before. And competency, I don't feel maybe we've traditionally ascribed that as a masculine trait, but I don't think it is. It's just a human trait. It's a parent trait for sure. Like, you know, as Joy and I have talked about our various, you know, fitness goals and what do we want to do health wise and stuff, and we're still, God, we're trying so hard. We could try harder, but we're working on all of our you know, our individual goals and stuff like that. And it's like, listen, I don't give a fuck what anybody weighs. I don't give a fuck what you look like. I don't get, any of that shit. If you've got a kid, you should be able to sprint 25 to 50 yards, like a dead run. You should be able to bodily drag a 200-pound person out of the line of fire. Whether that's just a handy. We talked about this with the with the bad kid thing, right? Like, I feel like there are skills and abilities everyone should possess because God forbid you should ever have to call upon them. I would love to know that my wife can get me out of the house if I'm unconscious. Like, that would really give me peace of mind. Um, Things like that, I think, are important. And those are masculine. Like, no, they're not. They're fucking human. They're parenting. They're tribal. You should be able to do these things. That's not nothing to do with men or women or whatever. That's just people. It's just people, right? Um, I feel like I've missed a bunch of really good comments. I'm sorry. Um, and this is another thing, and I probably shouldn't even fucking go here, but I'm really curious because I was going to write about it. It's easier to write about because I can make fictional characters say the stuff I want to say and see what happens. Um, is it really? I'm sorry, Sam. Not really. um, Although I'm curious. Okay, I might ask you a question about that, Sam. Uh, so I want to talk about a word, and there's a few different words I wanted to talk about, but this one came to mind, and I hope it doesn't offend anybody. But I want to have the discussion. I want to talk about the word pussy. Where I come from, that word obviously it's bad. It's considered a bad word. It's certainly slang. It certainly has been used and is understood to be derogatory, right? Stop me if I'm wrong. Um, okay, got it. Sam, you're not that far off. I'm not gonna lie, you're not that far off. But where I came from growing up, not necessarily at home, but more with my friend group, that word, okay, the problem with it is that it's slang. It has a feminine slang, right? And so because of that, we don't want to say it or use it because it's bad. Okay. The the thing that I'm struggling with um, is that language, particularly American English, changes and adapts and evolves over time. If I'm going to use that word, it's going to be specifically, well, usually it's going to be directed at myself, or it's going to be directed, and it never had, like, I can't even think of the last time I would have said it to another human being. But like that's the kind of thing I could see saying to some guy, specifically some guy, because where it was ever used previously in my childhood was to refer to something weak, right? Or somebody who was not up to snuff, who was not carrying their weight, who was chickening out of things, right? And so immediately we have this masculine feminine issue where mm, it it's being used to degrade usually a guy with a feminine term. Ergo, feminine equals bad, feminine equals weak, and that's why we're not going to say it anymore, right? Are you tracking with me? Okay. But has the language evolved enough over the last however many decades for that word's uh, etymology to no longer matter? Because when we use it now, it has a very specific context. Um, Particularly if you're using it to get under another guy's skin who probably deserves it. You know what I mean? Maybe it's all in delivery. I don't know. Um, does that make sense? Like, there's another word, and I don't even want to say it. I was going to talk about it tonight, and I don't even feel like actually saying it. But there's another word that doesn't get used anymore, rightly so, um, that I have not said, and I don't even know how long, at least unless I'm writing or thinking about it for a night like this, that I would never use against another human being unless it was against the exact kind of guy who it would bug the shit out of. Then I feel like, oh, it's coming out. Not because it's a bad word, not because of what the word originally was meant to indicate, but because of how it's going to make your ass feel. I'll definitely use that word if it comes down to it. You know what I mean? Like, because this is the problem that I have encountered over the course of my life is I'm not a good, and this is I'm so glad I had the friends that I had. I mean, we were semi-masculine. I don't know. We were definitely boys. I don't know how masculine we were, but we were definitely boys. Um, yeah. Oh shit, where was I going with that? Oh, that, and I had another couple of my friends had this problem too, where it's like if you pick on me, like guy stuff, we're just picking on you, man. I'm just hacking on you, that kind of shit. It's like, okay, yeah. And then you dig a little bit deeper. Okay, that's pretty fucking funny. All right. And then by the time you get to the third step, I'm swinging for the fences. I'm not gonna be kidding. I'm gonna say some shit that is designed to fucking hurt you as badly as possible. Um, and I've crossed that line. I haven't crossed it recently, but definitely like in high school for sure. If my friend, I don't think Matt's probably watching tonight, but I know Matt would know what I was talking about. Where it's like, listen, I can take a little bit of it, but then once you cross this line, I'm gonna swing back, and it's gonna fuck you up. And I'm really good at it. I'm really good at it, and I'm okay being really good at it. I know the right words. I'm a fucking writer. This is my job. This is what I do for a living. I know and can probably deduce about you the right string of words that are going to drive you batshit. So I don't. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I try not to do that. And so there's a whole, yeah, there's a whole string of words that I keep kind of in my pocket just in case I ever need them. Um, and they are terrible words. They are awful things that just shouldn't say anymore. There's no reason to. But if you're a dick, then I'm gonna defend myself. You know what I mean? I don't know if I'm making any sense. Um, Fuck. I don't even know if I went anywhere near where I meant to go tonight. But thanks for sticking around and humoring me. Um, I like this kindness idea, Sam. I think, and those of you who also commented on. I mean, that's really the thing, though. That's really the thing. There's just, I'm looking at some of the men that I watch on YouTube or read articles or whatever, and they're fucking like these are, retired Navy SEALs and fucking special forces dudes and like, extreme endurance athletes. I mean, these are like manly fucking like like if you haven't looked up Jocko Willink yet, you really need to watch some Jocko because watching an hour of him on YouTube will like hair will start popping out of your chest. It doesn't matter what your gender is. Like it doesn't get any more manly than Jocko Willink. I swear to God. Um, but I guarantee you, he's probably not a dick. And in his day-to-day life, is probably pretty kind. Now he can fucking tear you apart. I think he's a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He's a retired SEAL. He has taken human life. I haven't done that. So he has seen shit in Iraq specifically that I no idea. And we can call that masculine if you want to or whatever, but I am very certain based on everything I've read and seen of him that he is ultimately a kind person. I wouldn't fuck with him. I wouldn't fuck with his family. That would be a mistake. But until then, he's not going to challenge you to a bench press contest, right? He's not going to get into a pissing contest with you. Because why? He doesn't have to. Because if you're masculine, you don't have to prove it. That's the thing. You don't have to fucking prove it. With like I like pickup trucks. I was raised with pickup trucks. I miss having a pickup truck. I'm gonna get one. I don't need an 18-ton jacked up fucking F-150 or whatever the fuck. If you need to have one for your job as an accountant, okay, that's you. That gives you joy. That gives you pleasure. Go for it. Tear it up. Fine. I don't need to do that. I want a pickup truck because I miss being able to haul shit around. I just like them. Just, I want my '54 Chevy pickup. That's it. I just want that. But it's not because it's manly. It's not because it's badass. It's just because I was raised around trucks. I don't like sports cars. I really don't. I try to respect them and appreciate them, but I just don't fucking care. Sorry. Um, there's this one guy. He helped us move into the house, and um, I just talked to him tonight, as a matter of fact. And he came over and he's he's looking at our garage floor. He's kind of like, huh, and he probably had some Copenhagen or something, you know. But he's just looking at the floor. He's like, I really like this sealant you've got here in the garage. I'm like, yeah, man, yeah, fucking sealant, bro. Like, I don't know, fucking, like, it's paint. What are you talking about? I have no idea what he's talking about. And he could tell that I had no idea, because then he just kind of looks up at me and starts laughing. I'm like, yeah, I don't know what you're talking about, because I'm not manly. I am not masculine when it comes to, hello, welcome. It's okay, you're late. We'll keep going. Um, I have no clue what you're talking about. Like, I know the difference between a Phillips and a flathead. I got that going for me. And I remember fixing some stuff around the house from time to time and being like, I'm fucking manly. Yeah, now you're a man. You know. But and then there's other stuff where it's like this plumbing issue. Like I did what I knew how to do. It didn't work. Call the fucking plumber. Cool. I have no problem with that, and I do not feel less manly for calling the plumber. You know what I feel like? I feel like the fucking hero in this story because I made the fucking phone call, and I hate talking to people. So, you know, that's a win in my book. Um, um, if someone said a conceal, I'd probably look at them blankly for a very long time. I think that's kind of what I did, although I was trying to cover it, Mary. It was, yeah. Oh, Capre's here. Oh, that was you, Capre. I'm sorry, I didn't realize that. Hey, Capre, it's so good to see you. Thank you for being here. Um, but yeah, like and then I just accept like there's stuff that I don't know yet. Like I think that's what a man says. And here's the thing. Like I know going back to the language thing, I know that we're not supposed to say things like man up. Like you don't say stuff like man up anymore. And I'm like in my head I'm thinking, yeah, but that's a cultural language thing. Yes, it came to us fraught with this certain weight and meaning and background. I get it. But now we're over here. Does it automatically have to have that same weight? That's kind of a slippery slope because then it's like, okay, so we can take any word and say it means something different now, right? And do we really want to go down that road? I don't know. I'm not sure. But I think about these things because I work with words. Um, like, generally speaking, like, I really hope for myself, just as a parent, that I never say that phrase to either of my kids in a serious way. Like you need to man up, just man up. Like I don't want to hear myself say that. I really don't. But then there's another part of me that's like, it depends on the circumstances. If you're having a fucking hissy fit because you didn't get your lollipop or whatever, like you need to fucking man up. You know what I mean? Like there's a different connotation to that versus, oh my god, I fucking broke my leg and I'm crying. Like man up. Like no, that's not appropriate. That's not a good time to say man up. You know. Um, so I get very confused both as a writer of words and and as a parent in particular. It'd be a lot easier if it was just Joy and I, because Joy's, you know, Joy's a grown ass man, right? We have this phrase, "I'm a grown ass man" from Key and Peele, who I'm sure got it from somewhere else, and I love that phrase. Like I'm a grown ass man. I'm a grown ass man, and I think that phrase can and should be appropriated for a number of different circumstances. Um, I think that's the new man up, you know. I don't wanna go grocery shopping. Like you're a grown ass man. Go get some fucking groceries. You know what I mean? Like I feel like there's a time and place for these phrases that we're not supposed to use anymore because of their gender background. You know, and I'm probably wrong. I don't fucking know. And you have to understand most of this stuff, if it's derogatory, I say it to myself. Like in the you shouldn't hear the shit that this house has heard me say about myself. This very day, as a matter of fact, it's what I do. Um, Oh, reasonable. Yeah, that's good. I like that, Andy. Uh, yeah, yeah. Um, it's funny when you saying that, Andy. I was thinking and looking at this 20x thing that I'm theoretically going to do. Uh, like today, I did what I do. I did 100 star jumping jacks. I think they're called star jumps or something like that, which fucking suck. And then 100 4 count jumping jacks, and then 100 burpees. Not because I'm manly, but like that's it's part of the training and getting ready for this event. And every time I do this kind of stuff, I'm like, yeah, but you guys think you're so badass. Have you ever tried to change a toddler who doesn't want to be changed? That's badass. Yes, I understand you stormed the hill because you're a badass, but you try getting a pissed off toddler into her PJs, then tell me how badass you are. You know what I'm saying? Like if I can do that, I can accomplish anything. That's the bar. That's where the bar is for me. Not saying it's successful. Yeah, that is probably one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life is try to get a toddler, a pissed off toddler into pajamas. Like, fuck. Oh! Some of my worst nights in my life have been doing that job. So, like, jumping jacks, bring it on. Not a problem. We can do that. Kindness, though. Kindness. I like that. Um, yeah. Yeah. Changing a toddler. That's why Joy, like, this is why I know Joy is badass because I see what she fucking does, and I don't want to do it. Like, like I am more. And here's the thing: if somebody starts getting sick, guess who's first? Guess who takes care of that shit? It's Joy. I can and I have, but not if I don't have to. I'm like, I'm out. I'm out. I don't do anything with the stomachs. Nope, not doing it. Um, and that's just me being uh, being me. I'm sorry she put you through the paces tonight. God damn it. I'm so sorry. I just feel like I'm not pulling my fucking weight over here. I don't. I'm so goddamn selfish. That's the thing about kids. Somebody told me that. I don't remember if it was Joel, but somebody told me one of the things about having kids is you will learn how selfish you really are. And when you hear that shit before you have a kid, you're like, oh, not me. And then the kid shows up like, oh yeah, I'm a selfish motherfucker. I am so self-centered. It's crazy. Anyhow, um, point being, I hope and will promise to you all that um, Joy and I are striving constantly, daily, frankly, to raise kids who are never going to be in that position that this girl was in. To try and enforce to force themselves on anybody for any reason, or yeah, because it's just not how we do things. Um, I like to think we'll be successful. Uh, but it worries me. I'll be honest, and I've already. Here's the thing. Speaking of being a man, like, God help either of my kids. I'm thinking particularly of my son, but could be either one of them. If we're gonna be equal here, God forbid the day some dad comes knocking on that front door and says, "Hey, is your son here?" Because on the one hand, it depends. What do you want to do? And on the other hand, it's like, son, would you like to tell us what happened? Why is this angry father here? Let's not have that night. Let's not have that night, okay? Um, I hope and choose to believe we're doing a good job at that, and I will promise you right now that we will continue to do that. And hopefully, we are raising a couple kids who are going to go out there and provided that the planet is still around in 10 years or so, um, will be uh, healthy and kind members of this society and that culture. Um, I think we'll do okay. I think we'll do okay. Uh, but I worry about it. I do worry about it. It's just one of those things. Just one of the many things that, parents get to think about, I suppose. Um, but at the same time, now here's one, and I think you probably have heard this story before. Um, I remember when I first heard it. I'm sure it happens a lot. But like there was a family sitting in the living room, and the daughter was getting ready to go out on a date, right? And then the guy who's going to take her on the date pulls up to the driveway, honks the horn, and daughter starts to go out the door. Dad stands up and says, "Uh-uh, park it, not happening." So she's like, "What?" And dad marches out there, goes goes to this kid's car, knocks on the window. Kid rolls down his window, like, "Look, like what the fuck?" And this dad's like, "Here's what's gonna happen. You're gonna take this car, you're gonna drive it around the neighborhood, and pull back in here when you've had some time to think about this. You're gonna pull back in. You're gonna get out of the car. You're gonna come to the front door, ring the bell, and ask for my daughter. That's how this works. Or you can go home. Your choice. Bye bye." And he goes back inside. Now, that's such a dad thing, right? That's such a total dad story. But I heard that shit like 15 some odd years ago, and in my head, I'm like, yeah, I'm still down with that. Like, and that's again where I feel like I want some clarification on, I don't know what to call it, gender roles, masculine, feminine. Like, I don't even know what to fucking call it. But like, that's not okay to me. So I guess the question is, all right, let's say a girl is coming to pick up Toby because Toby's not gonna have a fucking car. So if a girl comes to pick up Toby, can she honk the horn? And I'm thinking, no, I don't think so. Either way, you need to stop the car, get out, come knock on the door, and ask for this person so that we can meet you and things like that. That's how this is gonna work. That's how this is gonna work. Um, so yeah, I keep circling back to this kindness thing, and that there is a baseline regardless of gender or sex that we should just all be doing. And that would be one of those things, like, no, you want to take my kid out, cool, here's how we're going to do it. Now I've also seen some interesting arguments about the courtesy to the parent. Thank you, Alyssa. Yes, thank you. Courtesy, very good. This thing, like, where on the one hand there's the old, kind of traditional image or whatever of the dad polishing his gun when the son comes when the kid comes over to take his daughter out, whatever, and like. And one of my favorite phrases that I will now not use, but I liked it for a long time, was, "Anything you do to my daughter, I'm going to do to you," which I thought was kind of funny and fucked up in its own special way, but it was amusing. And then I started seeing articles and memes and stuff that were pushing back against that idea and saying, I'm not going to have to say anything like that or do anything like that because my daughter is going to take care of herself, no problem. I'm going to raise a kid who is going to be on top of this situation from the word go. So I don't need to do the whole scary dad routine. And I was like, that's a really good point. That's a really good point. I would hope that my daughter and son are the type of people that we are raising them to be very strong person. I mean, they are strong personalities, but very strong-willed in that sense of like, no, if I say no or if I don't want to do something, fuck you, I'm not doing it. It's not how it's gonna work. That kind of thing. They certainly have they have an abundance of personality, so in theory that shouldn't be a problem. Um, Sorry, I'm missing so many of your guys' comments. I hope you're having a good time over there. Uh, Yeah, so I like courtesy, kindness. Yeah, I think maybe I am answering my own question here. Um, that yeah, that more and more gender just doesn't have anything to do with much of anything, and it should be equitable. Like, and if we're talking about a marriage or a relationship, whatever, then as long as it's equitable. Like, here's something that kind of, I don't know if it bothered me, but it's just something that I noticed because again, my filter as an author, I catch these things. Um, I was going to pick up Toby, and I know, and we're near several schools, and there was a group of presumably high school students, and there was a guy, probably freshman, sophomore, on a skateboard, okay, and he was with a girl who was pulling him on the skateboard. Like, he had either, I don't know if he was holding her arm or like her waistband or something, and she's walking, and he's just on the skateboard being pulled by her. Now, part of me as an author is like, oh, that's kind of cute. And then part of me, as I don't know if it's as a parent or whatever, is like, dude, what are you doing? Like, she gets to ride the skateboard. You pull her. What the fuck are you doing? You know what I'm saying? Um, and then, like, the third version is, nope, equality. Doesn't matter. As long as they both agree that this is okay, it's fine. So again, this is what I spend my days thinking about, apparently, because I'm not writing books. So, like, in that scenario, I don't know where I fall, and it fundamentally probably doesn't matter. Um, I do know that if I was driving down the street and I saw Toby on a skateboard being pulled by a girl, I wouldn't stop and say anything. But when he got home, I would certainly ask him questions like, "So, what was Susie doing pulling you on a skateboard? Why weren't you pulling her?" Just out of sheer curiosity, if nothing else. I'm not going to give him a hard time about it. Or, I mean, a little bit of a hard time, I suppose, but I'm not going to, like, castigate him and say, "Man up," right? um, but I would just be curious, like, why? What is? How did you trade? Were you trading off? Like, how come she has to pull you? I just want to know the story, because if I know the story, then we can go from there. Um, so yeah, just shit that I think about. I don't know. All of which is to say um, that I spend a good portion of my day very confused. And just trying to figure shit out. Maybe everybody does. It doesn't feel like it. I'm sure everybody does. Um, as long as it's consensual, two kids can do whatever they want with a skateboard. I think that's probably the right answer, Andy. I really do. That's why I do these shows, is because I have smart people come chat and tell me how to, do stuff. Um, but the skateboard must consent. I don't know if that's true, Andy. I had some skateboards that did definitely not consent, including my fucking Tony Hawk that some asshole fucking stole from work. From work, they stole it. Like, oh my god, I'm still. This was God, 20 years ago. I'm still pissed because that board is worth like $500 or $600 now on eBay. Love that board, man. Anyway, practicing safe skateboarding is always wise. True, Steve. Wise, but not always called for. If you've never gone down a Camelback Mountain paved road at night on a skateboard with your friends, man, you missed out. Downhilling is the shit. I would do it again. I may yet do it again. I mean, somebody's got to show Toby, so yeah, downhilling was the shit. And the thing is, in retrospect, if any, none of the girls ever went. I bet we knew girls who would go. None of the girls ever went, but if they wanted to, we would not have said no. Now, also, we're coming from theater. See, that's a whole other thing. Uh, are there culture's not the right word. Are there theater's just different in so many ways. We have different relationships in theater than other pastimes or professions do. You know what I mean? There are just like it's a very intimate thing. Theater is. There's a lot of naked people running around. Boys, girls, doesn't matter. Gay, straight, you name it. A lot of nakedness going on in theater, and you just get used to it. You just accept it. Like, all right, we're getting naked. Here we go. It's just part of what you signed up for. There is in Yeah, there's less. Thank you, Andy. That's true. There's less space for it. It just goes with the territory. Um, Broadly speaking, Steve, I'd like to hear what you think about this. But broadly speaking, I think theater tends to also continue to be respectful still. Um, but it also feels like, at least in my experience, there are things you can say and sometimes even do in a theater family that you would never fucking do at any other job or any other place. Because that's just part of the world that you're in. What I get confused about, not that I mean, I don't do anything. Okay, okay, see, Dylan, yes, you know what I'm talking about, right? Um, having not done it in 7 years or more, it's not something I have to think about. But I look back in retrospect and like, wow, there's just stuff that we said and did to one another in the context of theater that like I would never do anywhere else, ever, 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 ever. Um, so is wrong contextual? Is it always contextual? I don't know. Like there was, oh, here we go. Book talking about things that only happen in theaters. Actually, Steve, we've talked about this. Oh, you did it. You actually, didn't you write like an etiquette book at one point? Which is not quite the same thing, but I think we talked about that at least once. Um, Sam, if you're talking about me, I was a Boy Scout. I was a Boy Scout in eighth grade. I made it to the whatever the first rank is. I think it's tenderfoot, and then I quit because I felt guilty smoking cigarettes in uniform. So I'd get the whole thing on, and then I'd get to the place early and have a couple cigarettes with my friend who joined with me. Like, yeah, hey man, what do you think, we're learning some knots tonight? I was like, there's something not right about this. Like, well, I could quit smoking or I could quit Scouts. I'm gonna quit Scouts, and I regret it. I wish I had not quit, um, because I have a shit ton of respect for anybody, particularly Eagle Scouts. Eagle Scouts have my immense respect for that. It's really just talking about that. Yeah, oh, we should, Steve. Yeah, that's a good idea. We'll do that. That's a good idea. Um, so anyway, as a contextual, like ugh. Like there are, I will say this much. There's a lot that I do, believe it or not, I do keep to myself still. Um, there are things I did now as a kid. I'm gonna give myself at least that much credit. Um, when I was, 14 to 17, so young, stupid, theater. There you go. Um, and this goes back, I think, Sam, to some of the stuff we talked about with Manic Pixie Dream Girl, um, that I did that I'm not proud of doing in retrospect. Not as particularly as a parent now, I'm like, oh fuck, did I really? Oh man, I shouldn't. Nothing fucking, legally um, terrible, but still, I wouldn't want anybody to do it to my kids, and I certainly don't want my kids to do it to anybody else. Now that I'm a grown ass man, um, but then you throw this theater aspect into it. You throw age and the context of theater into it. I'm like, well, like I shouldn't have. There's a few things I wish I hadn't done. I shouldn't have done it. Can I say but? But in its context, like nobody got hurt, as far as I know. And likewise, the same has happened to me. There were things that people did to me in the context of, well, we're in theater, so it's okay. It's like, dude, you shouldn't really have grabbed my junk. That wasn't cool. But I don't lose sleep over it. Had it happened outside that building, okay, well, now someone's gonna, probably get hurt or sued or both, right? Because that's assault. Theater, like, dude, what are you doing? Don't do that. Cut it out. No big deal, right? So like it's very fucking, and so I'm trying to navigate that mostly in case my kids go into the arts, which I obviously don't know if that's the case or not. Um, but it just feels like such a different fucking world when it comes to navigating that stuff. And certainly, and I know this to be true for a fact, there are, of course, and this is in any industry, but there are people who understand it and can exploit it. And being able to identify those people and avoid them or stop them or get them the fuck out is crucial because I've seen that happen in my career in theater. One guy in particular ended up in prison, rightfully so, because he was breaking the fucking law. Um, but it was theater. So, and it's like, no, what you did was not theater. You're a fucking criminal, is what you are, and good riddance. Um, so, anyway, point being, raising kids who, if they are end up in that situation, in that environment, like being able to navigate that, and it's probably going to come down to courtesy and kindness, right? Um, just yeah. Um, God, I don't know if I said a fucking thing tonight. But I got through the show. I did the show. I showed up. That's the important thing. I showed up. And tomorrow's gonna be a long day, but it's gonna be a good day. So that's I get to hang out with the guys tomorrow night, and one of my friends is hopefully gonna be having a kid here very soon, and that's very cool. I'm very excited for them about that. That's cool. It's gonna interrupt some game time, but selfish. But it's gonna be so worth it. They're gonna be such great parents. It's gonna be really cool. Um, so tomorrow we're going to celebrate with that. Um, in the meantime, I am losing power on so many different levels. So I got nothing coming up. Thank you, Mary. I appreciate it very much. So yeah, subscribe if you haven't. Tell your friends. Come back next week. I'm talking to my ghost hunter people, so that's going to be happening. I got a whole group of people starting to get lined up. About as much rambling. That's okay. I do. Thank you, Sam. The day of the ramble. Um, So I do have some cool guests coming up, and I will be hopefully posting a calendar very soon about that. It'll be really cool. Spread the word. That'll be great. Other than that, I don't think I have anything else really coming up. Although I will say again, if you didn't already know, and if you're not already signed up for Patreon, we just finished chapter 2 of my serialized novel Naked. Speaking of which, and I think it's going well. I don't know if it's going well, Mary. Tell everybody. I think, and who else is? Oh, Andy. Andy's also on there. So join up. It's really cool. It's a lot of fun. I would appreciate it. Patreon.com/Tom Leveen, and that's it. I'm gonna leave it at that. Thank you guys so much for coming, as you always do. I really appreciate it. Yeah, I think that's all I got. I don't know if we solved anything, but it was fun to talk to you tonight and to listen to you as well. So thank you for coming. Thank you very much for coming. May you be happy. May you be well. May you be safe. And may you be peaceful and at ease. And we will see you guys next week. Same time, same channel. All right?